Welcome to As the Story Grows. I'm Brian Patton. Today we welcome Taproot guitarist and Riding with Killers frontman Taylor Roberts to the podcast. Riding with Killers released Full Circle back in December, and Taylor and I chatted in January. Taylor talks about his painting business, the struggle to find his place in the Gulf Coast scene, his love for Europe, balancing being in two bands, and a lot more. Thanks for listening to this episode. If you like what you hear, share it with someone else who might enjoy it. Tell a friend, share it on your socials, put it in your newsletter, however you connect with the world. Let people know what you like. You can find links to the newsletter, Patreon page, and Discord server in the show notes or at asthestorygrows.com. Enjoy today's chat with Taylor Roberts.
Aside from all the music stuff, I own and operate a painting business. I do commercial and residential that services all of the Metro Detroit area. So when I'm not on tour, this is what I do.
Nice. What got you into painting as your non-touring job?
So, my grandpa kind of got me started on that when I was like 4 years old, like with like model airplanes and trains and shit like that. He actually used to paint actual airplanes. He was in the Air Force, and I did telecommunications, but when he retired, opened an airfield, and that was kind of one of the things that he did to make money. So I had a really good start, and then that was like my first professional job, I would say, when I was 14, and that's kind of what I always did when I would get off tour, because like I could find work pretty easy, and I'm pretty quick at what I do, especially now that I have a crew of 3 people, so like I can actually keep the business going if I have to go on the road now, thankfully.
That's awesome.
But yeah, man, it's always been like I always say that my 2 trades in life are painting and guitar. So
that's awesome. It's awesome that it's like this lifelong thing you have, like the passion, but like this like other thing you have that is important to you, right?
Oh yeah, well, and I mean, because the cool thing is, man, is like let's say things start blowing up with Taproot even more than they already are, and they get back to like that early 2000s level, and then things happen like that with Riding with Killers, and I hope and feel like it could happen in the future. Like I still want to have this painting business going, because like I enjoy working when I'm not off the road. I can't sit still, and eventually and like I really do enjoy what I do, but like I want to move down to New Orleans, open up a branch down there, and start working on historic homes and buildings, because that's my hometown area, and keep the branch up here going, split my time between Detroit and New Orleans. It's kind of the dream.
Yeah, that's cool. So you grew up in New Orleans?
I grew up around New Orleans. I'm originally from Gulfport, Mississippi, and I was just in New Orleans all the time. I basically had an injury from birth with my left eye, and I mean it's fine now, but like my specialist was over there, so I was literally over there from like age 2 till almost 28 when I left, because eventually as I got older, I started playing over there more and more. And then my original band from the coast, we essentially kind of became the house band at House of Blues off of Decatur. And anytime, big national touring rock bands would come through, they would hit us up because we could sell tickets. And, we didn't suck either, so like it was like, okay, we can put these guys with this band. We know they're good for 150 people, if not more, just depending on what the band / what day of the week it is. But they knew that we would draw and that we would put on a good show. So it's just it feels like home more than anywhere on like in Mississippi feels now. Like New Orleans, just I don't know. There's something very special about that city.
That's cool. So, what got you into music?
Well, I mean, I would always find myself singing along on the radio when my mom was playing songs, and like I didn't start in rock music either. Like it was more like that 90s country mixed in with like pop and things like that, you know. But like I was always drawn to those hooks and those choruses, you know, the catchy songs that you're like, oh shit, by the second chorus I'm singing along. And then it just kind of evolved from there. And then my mom decided like, oh well, you know, I want to get him into some sort of, you know, musical thing. So she put me in school band, and I started off on alto saxophone, and I really got a knack for it. I've got ADHD, so I kind of hyper-focused on all of that. And then it all kind of changed, though, when I heard the song Between Angels and Insects by Papa Roach. I was hanging out with my best friend at the time and his family, the McBrides, and they were the ones who showed me, you know, nu metal and rock music and classic rock and everything. And as soon as I heard that song, I was like, how did he make that sound? How did he do that? And then I was like, one Christmas, I was like, Mom, I want to play guitar. And then the rest is kind of history.
Nice. At what point did vocals and singing come in for you? Were you like always a vocalist, or?
I've always sang. I've always enjoyed singing. I was never like, I'm not a trained singer, and I actually just started vocal lessons this week with Ryan Arini up at Rock Hill Sound Studios in Rochester, Michigan. But I always liked it. I always did backing vocals in my old band. And I guess I was kind of afraid of my voice for a really long time. So I was like, well, I'll find a singer who can do the thing and be the mouthpiece. And then whenever I quit that original band from the coast, I was like, man, I don't want to deal with finding another lead singer, and I don't want to deal with, you know, not being the guy who's like, I basically was like, look, I'm going to do it myself. And so I just kind of up and decided, okay, I'm going to sing, because, you know, like I said, I'd always done backing vocals. I'd always enjoyed singing, and I always wanted to write lyrics, you know, or be more involved in the lyric writing process, because I felt like I had something to say. I felt like I had a story. And when I left my band from the coast, I just was like, you know what, this is the time that I'm going to do it. And I jumped in, and funny enough, to speak on the fact that like I'm not trained at all. I actually, during a recording session, and I was recording Hostility, it's that the really high note in the core, or the pre-chorus. Whenever I hit that, I essentially caused myself an inguinal hernia. Which was absolutely awful and terrifying. Like, it was the worst surgery and recovery of my entire life. I was on my ass for probably 3 months almost. But weirdly enough, though, like I've healed, but like I can still tell sometimes at the end of a long day, like, hey, this happened. But weirdly, it made me pay attention to my voice more. It made me like get a little more serious about my vocal health, and it kind of helped me improve, weirdly enough. But like, because I was pushing so hard, and like I was hitting the notes, but I wasn't getting there correctly. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so that really kind of opened my eyes to, okay, there is technique, there is things that I need to learn, and if I want longevity with this kind of a career, I need to jump into lessons. And I finally found an in-person vocalist that I can go to. Cause like I had a really wonderful singing and screaming lesson with Jakey from the original singer of Amaranth from Sweden. And the screamer Oh my God, I hope he doesn't hear this because I'm blanking on his name right now just because it's been such a long. Andy, don't tell him I said it. I love you, Andy. If you hear this, I fucking love you so much. But Andy sat and had a lesson with me with screaming. But I mean, obviously, I'm not going to fly back and forth to Sweden every other week. That would be expensive.
Yeah.
So it was really cool that both of them kind of got me started in down that path of learning and trying to seek out help. But, I finally found someone that I will be with bi-weekly. And, so, I mean, I'm still kind of in the middle of my singing journey, even though like I just finished recording our second record last month already.
Oh,
so
nice.
well, yeah, so it took us such a long time to finish the first record. There were just various things that happened, and then COVID didn't help. But because I was waiting so long, some of these songs on Full Circle, I recorded 5 years ago almost.
Oh man, yeah.
And so I was like, all right, well, I've got other things I have to talk about and I want to talk about. And then that's how I got hooked up with Jacob Herman and, did a record in Sweden last year. Well, we did it in 3 places. We did it in Detroit, we did it in Sweden, and we did it in New Orleans, and specifically Gothenburg in Sweden.
Nice.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm doing okay if I'm getting to go to those places to make music.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was honestly, man, I tried so hard not to come back from Sweden. I love and miss everyone over there so dearly. Like I made family when I went there. Like I didn't make friends, I made family. Yeah. But it was just a wonderful experience. And I mean, to go to Viking country to write a metal record, come on.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It was awesome. I've never felt more safe in my entire life because I'm like 5'8", and like everyone else over there is like 6 foot whatever and absolutely gorgeous, but like could rip you to shreds with their bare hands if they wanted to because they're fucking Vikings. But yeah.
I went to Berlin, oh man, like 12 years ago at this point. And yeah, it's one of those similar things where you're just like, I never want to leave. This is where I want to stay and spend all my time.
Oh, dude, I love Europe. It was my first time over there. I'm looking to go back, and especially once we get the second record ready to release, I definitely plan on doing at least 2 album release shows over there. And funny enough, because of that recording process that I did over there, that's how I met Jenny Nord from Rave the Requiem, and she features on track 9, I think it is, in Silent, or maybe it's track 8. I think it's track 8. But she's just a wonderful, wonderful vocalist, and I absolutely love her band. And the opportunity came up for us to work together on this record, and so I definitely jumped at that, and that became one of my favorite songs on the new record too.
Nice. That's rad. Let's talk briefly. What was the music scene like for you in high school? I mean, you were having bands in like high school and after, like, but what was the music scene? Was there a good local scene that you were involved in? Was it difficult to like find people to play in bands with?
If anyone from the Gulf Coast hears this, they're probably going to hate me, but like, whatever. And so yes and no. It was kind of a good scene, but at the same time, it fucking was not. At least not for me anyway. Like I was always kind of put on the outskirts, like, how bands will have cliques, kind of like you have in high school. Like there was a group of 3 bands that would always pal around, and then other bands from the area. And we were always kind of looked at as just this black sheep, and at least that's how it always felt. Because, like we would never get invited to play local shows, like, and we would do some local stuff, obviously, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like if we ever got shows, it was normally us going after them or, talking to the venue and getting added on like other bands. And it's not like we were dicks or anything, but I don't know. There was just a weird thing there. Like ever since I got to Michigan, like I feel accepted up here. I feel like I've made friends with bands up here. I feel like like it's very different up here in Michigan than it was in the Gulf Coast. And I mean, like, especially after Hurricane Katrina too, man, because I was like 15, 16 when that happened, and it destroyed everything. And we went from having, 40 different venues on the Gulf Coast to like 2 or 3, because the insurance and all this, that, and the other. But, as far as like the music scene community, for me, I didn't really feel like there was one. That's why I left. You know what I mean? Like I would have stayed had there have been a reason for me to stay. But I also realized, and I'm not saying this is true for everybody on the Gulf Coast, but it was true for me, and it's my truth. But if I would have stayed there and continued to try to pursue what I'm doing now, I would have blinked my eyes. 30 years would have gone by, and I would have been doing the same shit that I've been doing. And I was doing some good stuff, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to break through this ceiling that we were hitting. And when I moved up here, I feel like I kind of got hardened, if you will. Like I feel like Detroit broke me down, but built me back up. And then it allowed me to break through that ceiling that I was having such a hard time with on the Gulf Coast. Even though, the radio station, I will say this, though, like 97.9 CPR, Scott, Kenny, Riley, and all of those, all of them up there, like I love them to death. And they gave us a shot. Like they were always interested in my band, but like the local community wasn't. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, and I think maybe there was a little bit of, fuck those guys, because, like my first stadium show I was 18 years old, and I got to play with Avenged Sevenfold before the Rev died. It was Bullet for My Valentine on Scream Aim Fire. Atreyu was on, it was the Taste of Chaos tour in 2008. And I think my band had started in like 06, 07, and everyone was kind of like, well, who the fuck is this? And then I don't know if maybe I'm making this up or not, but it kind of felt like that.
Yeah.
But and I'm not going to say that like I don't have any friends or support from the Gulf Coast, because I absolutely do. I definitely appreciate those people, but yeah, man, it was half and half for me. Like it was kind of good, but it was kind of bad and weird, because I felt like I was the odd kid that no one really wanted to play with that much. Every now and again they're like, oh, we'll see what he's up to, but then it was like, fuck him. At least that's how it felt.
Yeah, I get it. Why did you choose Michigan?
So, and funny enough, Taproot, believe it or not.
Okay.
My first U.S. tour was in 2013. My band Catharsis had gotten on the same management roster as Taproot. We got to go out on tour with them, and then I became really good friends with all of them. So much to the fact that the touring drummer at the time is the actual drummer on the first Riding with Killers record that we just released. Dave and I basically became inseparable after tour. Like, even though he was still in Michigan, we were playing like Call of Duty we still play Call of Duty almost every night. It's awesome, And so when I left my band, I remember Dave and I had always talked about jamming and being around each other. And so I called him and I was like, hey man, I quit my band and I'm going to move to Michigan. We're going to write a record. And he was like, whatever, kid. And then I showed up,
Nice.
So I knew that if I could get to Michigan, I could be around Dave, and that's why I came. Was to be around him, and then we wrote a record together. Nice.
Riding with Killers. Where'd the name for the band come from?
So fun story on that. And this was before I moved to Michigan. I had just quit my band. I was about to quit my job and move away. And while I was in the midst of figuring stuff out, I saw an ad to be an extra in the Motley Crue movie, The Dirt. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
So I was in that movie.
Okay.
They filmed it in New Orleans. And while I was in New Orleans, I ended up meeting a guy on set. His name was Shane, and he's one of my best friends now. And after we got done talking for a little bit, exchanged numbers, he called me. He's like, "Hey man, how'd you like to make like $2,000 in a week?" And at the time, you know, I was like, $2,000 in a week? What the fuck? Like, let's go. And then I got to thinking, because he was like, he's like, "Yeah, man, we're going to go wrap houseboats." And I had no clue what he was talking about. And then as we were talking more and more about it, I was like, "Yeah, man, I'll definitely go up there with you." He hits me up and he changes how we're getting there like 4 different times. He's like, "Oh, we're going to fly. Oh, we're going to take this. No, we're going to do that. No, we got to get this vehicle and blah, blah, blah." And so I started getting a little paranoid, and I called a mutual friend of ours and I was like, "Hey, man, is Shane cool, or am I going to end up scattered in like 5 trash bags along the highway?" You know, because it's like, why would this random dude offer me something so badass after just meeting me? And then my buddy Matt starts laughing his ass off. He's like, "Bruh," he was like, "Shane is one of the coolest people you'll ever meet. If that's what he says it's going to be, that's what it's going to be. Just go with him." And it became this whole big joke while we were up there, because obviously he told Shane about it, and Shane was like, "Yeah, man, he thought I was going to like murder you or something." And you know, the name Riding with Killers popped into my head, and ended up having, by the way, like one of the coolest weeks of my life. We wrapped 2 actual houseboats on the water with vinyl graphics. And it was for Margaritaville. And if you go up to Lake Lanier, Georgia, you can see both of them. Like, that was me and my buddy Shane. Like, we were working till like midnight every night. But met like the dopest houseboat community, like smoked weed with them all, got drunk with them after we would get done working, and you know, made some really good connections. And it was a really fucking rad week, man. And on the way back, I was just reflecting on everything, and then Riding with Killers popped into my head just because of, you know, we were still laughing about that. And I was like, that's kind of a cool name. I was like, I can have fun with merch. I can have fun with movie villains, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, it sounded like a name that I could have fun with when it came to marketing, to merchandise, to the way that we present ourselves. And then it was like, okay, we can acronym this. Now we've got RWK, which is like rock, you know, a little cheesy, but hey, whatever, it works. And the main factor of all of that is that there was not another band out there called Riding with Killers. And you know, that's a rare thing to find a band name that hasn't already been used by 1,000 other people out there. And on top of that, you know, instead of like making up a word or some goofy spelled something, you know, it's easy to remember. So it reminded me of a really great week, and you know, it just sounded like fun, and that's where it came from.
Just released this record, Full Circle. Where'd the title and concept for this album come from? You said these songs are like old and it's taken a while. Is that just kind of where the title comes from?
No. So the title, the album artwork, front and back, and the first song on the record are all tied together. It's all tied together. Basically, the photo that I took on the front of the record, I took that photo in the Bahamas. The cab driver on the island was named Circle, and I had enough battery life on my phone to call him. And I was like, "Hey man, I'm lost. Can you please come get me?" And he was like, "Yeah, man, I'm having dinner with my wife. You're out of luck." And then he hangs up on me. And I was like, "What the fuck?" And you know, we ended up having a big argument the next day, because obviously I got home safe, but you know, we ended up making up, and it felt like a very full circle moment to be lost and then found again, but in the same spot as before. And then, you know, just the way that this album released, and the way that things have been going in my life, you know, the term full circle just seems so relevant to me. and it meant a lot. So it's a couple of different things,
Nice.
you know. But yeah, man, I feel like I'm where I was 10 years ago with my other band, but this time I'm doing it much more efficiently. I'm doing it better, and now I'm the one like fully, totally in control, so I can't get fucked over by anybody.
Yeah.
So it's full circle in itself that I landed back in this spot, and kind of like this year, you know, like we're playing the Whiskey, and 10 years ago in 2014, I played the Whiskey. I was the opening band. Now we're the headlining band, and then same thing with Welcome to Rockville. I did that 10 years ago on the opening stage, and now I'm going to be on the main stage with Taproot, you know. So it does feel like everything is coming very full circle, but in a much different light. So it was a very relevant theme.
Talk to me about the novelty project.
Yeah. So that is we started working with To Write Love on Her Arms about a year and a half ago, and we basically have been raising money for them at our shows. And the way that we're doing that is I'm an artist with Gibson Guitars. I signed with them probably about 2.5 years ago. I feel like I'm about to start my third year in March. So yeah, basically almost 3 years ago. God, time flies.
Yeah.
And basically I've just been utilizing my discount and like we buy, you know, nicer Epiphone guitars that we autograph, and we have little voodoo dolls that are associated with our music video that's coming out next month. But we basically sell the voodoo dolls, we write positive messages on the back, and then we raffle off guitars. So, you know, like the people who, you know, grab those voodoo dolls, like they're still getting something, but you know, they're giving money to a good cause. But like if you win the guitar, like you're getting a real Les Paul, you know, like it's not a Gibson Les Paul, but it's an Epiphone. Like it's the nice $750 Les Paul that, you know, we're trying to get into people's hands. So my idea behind it was, you know, work with this this company that you know, is very involved in the music scene. Because if you go to any festival, you'll find To Write Love on Her Arms out there, and you know, I was just like, man, it'd be so cool that if we're doing something involved with this community, well, let's get real instruments into people's hands. Because, like, dude, I fucking hate it when these big bands, and big bands are still doing it. They'll grab like $120 Squire Bullet or some bullshit like that, and be like, here's a guitar from the band, and it's like, man, fuck that, dude. I want a real guitar. Like, if I'm gonna win a guitar, I want it to be something that I can play. Yeah. and use, and that was my thought. It's like, you know, like I can't give away $2,000 Les Pauls right now, but I can do this. And if you're a musician or you're not a musician, well, now you've got a great guitar to either learn on or play or use in studio or live. So it was a really cool project that kind of all just like the idea, like it was one of those things you think about it and then you've already got it figured out in like 5 minutes.
Nice.
So yeah, that's kind of what we've been doing with that, and I'm looking to ramp that back up this year, especially once we release the novelty music video. I've still got the instruments that we used in the rain sequences, so we'll be doing something special with that and raffling off that guitar and probably that bass as well. So yeah, it's just I really believe in what they do, and I want to give back to the community however I can. And this felt like a really good way to do that, and something that I could, you know, be decent at.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like we've raised like, and we haven't played many shows because, you know, Taproot kind of took over my life, and then also being in studio. But I mean, in like 3 shows, I think we raised like $2,500 for them. Nice. You know, which, you know, it's not bad to roll up to a show randomly and say, hey, buy these voodoo dolls and maybe you'll get a guitar and blah, 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 blah. So it's been going really well so far, and people seem to be into the idea. Nice.
Was Dave being in Riding with Killers just how you ended up in Taproot?
Essentially. So basically, Dave started sending the music that we were making to all the guys, and Phil and Steve were like, wow, this is great. Like, what's he up to right now? What's he doing? And whenever he told them that I had moved to Michigan, they had started talks about getting back up, and they're, I'm sure everyone kind of knows, but they're on the outs with Mike. I don't know if that'll ever, be mended or repaired, but they were like, dude, call him. We want him to come play. And I got a call last December. I started crying in the middle of a restaurant. And I was like, yes, 1,000 times yes, I'll do it. But yeah, it definitely helped having Dave, write and record music with me. And, it was cool. It was very cool.
Nice. You just put out this Riding with Killers record. You've recorded the next one. Taproot put out a record last year. What's this year look like? You got a full slate of touring, or just kind of take it big slow?
So it's kind of all over the place. I mean, like, we've already got a bunch of festivals announced with Taproot. We just announced 2 more shows for Wisconsin today. Riding with Killers is playing in Lansing tomorrow. We're also going to be in Pittsburgh with our friends and guides in March. So basically, what my object or my goal for this year for Riding with Killers is kind of now starting to raise that awareness. That's kind of what we're going to be doing with this radio campaign. Like, we might have 1 to 3, bigger FM terrestrial rock stations, and then go after some secondary markets to where we can start building the name underground and getting the music to more people. Because, I mean, I don't have the money to just jump into an authentic radio campaign. I mean, You're looking at $20K plus, and I don't have a rich mom and dad. I don't have rich friends. I don't have a financial backer, but I'm doing this with my business, so I'm doing what I can with what I have until, it grows and there is an ability to, get it on a much bigger scale. But basically, I want to play as many shows as I can this year with both bands. I don't know if Taproot will do like a full scale, like 4 to 6 week long run. I would love to do that, but that's up to them, and I'm a bit younger than the other guys. I'm 34. The rest of them are 45, 46. They got kids. Some have multiple kids. Jared, that dude has like 30,000 kids, and he's like the best dad in the world. You know what I mean? It's the coolest thing. Like, Jared's the dad we all wished we had growing up. But like, they're doing the family thing, and so what I'm trying to do is utilize my time with Taproot. So whenever they're not wanting to be on the road, I can take Riding with Killers on the road and go back to these markets that I just played with Taproot. So they're kind of playing off of each other, like one's helping the other, because it's both bands are doing well. I mean, that spells good for everybody. So, I'm kind of trying to use the momentum from both groups to kind of bounce off of one another and just really build up a good energy.
Nice.
So, but yeah, man, it's basically starting to let people know who we are, and attacking some radio and getting out there and, getting out of Michigan and playing surrounding states.
Thanks for listening to As the Story Grows. Our intro music was written and composed by Jeremy Hunt. The As the Story Grows theme is by Bob Nana. If you like what you hear, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and give us a rating and review. If you'd like to support the show financially, you can join us at patreon.com/asthestorygrows. Be a part of our community and join the ongoing conversation over on Discord. If you enjoy this episode, share it on social media with your friends. Much appreciated. and thanks for listening.
I never felt so young and alive as when I'm diving into a tune. And now I'm learning as I listen along, and the wheels are turning, and I started a song. One good word and I'm gone. Oh, as the story grows, the more I want to know, the more I want to show you. As the story grows, as the story grows. You can create something lasting and great, something passionate and real. And I'll bring in my own good feelings, I'll sing it with meaning. Let's just attack it and never look back. It's wild and fantastic. All together at full power, we're so much better. What's that word?